Hey, welcome to the Great Lakes Serpentario. I'm Michael Wilson, and this is Crocodile Cake. And today we're going to be cleaning some enclosures. We're going to start with our forest cobra enclosure here. We got the forest cobra in this bin right here behind us. And right over here, we're going to take a look. This stuff is getting old and beat up, so we're going to replace it with some peat moss. Let's get started. What's up, guys? We're just going to scoop this stuff out of here and put it in the bag, and then we'll sanitize and clean the enclosure. What I like to use for the sanitization process is we use a little bit of a bleach mixture. We take a gallon container and we put a few 4 capfuls of bleach into it and then fill the rest up with water, and it comes out to about 3 to 5% bleach mixture. That's going to be great to sanitize and keep anything clean, but also not too much where it could negatively affect the animals. Now that we've got all the substrate out of the enclosure, I'm going to go ahead and spray it down with this bleach mixture. Wipe it down with some paper towel and make sure it's completely sanitized before adding any of the new substrate. Cypress mulch is extremely special because it can hold moisture without rotting. One of the only trees in the world that can do so. You're going to want to make sure you clean off and sanitize any of your cage decor, hides, and water dishes when you're doing this as well. This is something that should be done somewhat regularly to prevent the spread of any types of parasites or diseases to your animals. Keeping a completely sanitary environment is always the main priority when keeping these types of animals. You don't want to have to pet a forest cobra and inject it with any type of medicine or even have to maybe force feed something like this. The forest cobra here next door, she's only able to be force fed, and it's a scary process, and it can also be a nightmare. You prevent that by just cleaning and keeping things extremely clean. Also by quarantining any new animals that you get in your collection. Most of these pests, parasites, or diseases that come in, they come in on new animals that arrive from places where you thought might be secure, and they end up not being so secure. So, look nice. It's cost effective as well is to buy fake plants that you find at any Goodwill or place like that. Make sure you clean them off real well and then just cut off the limbs from the fake plants. These are just from a bush that we bought from a Goodwill store, and they've been working well for us for a couple of years now. You have as many animals as we do, you gotta be cost effective. Space for our water dish. Way to move water through these enclosures is with a hose. We have one here, but if you don't have anything like this available, you can also use some of these spray bottles, or one thing we've also used is a this is for watering plants. This is the way we used to fill water dishes before we got the hose. And also for misting purposes, you can get these HDX misting containers for pretty cheap. And they do a great job of keeping everything moist and humid during the day. But today we're just going to use our hose. Now that we've got the water dish all squared away, now we can add the animal to the enclosure. Make sure to clean the glass too. If you look at our glass here, it's covered in feces from when the forest cobra last pooped. Not something you want to be able to see every time you look in your enclosure. So we like to clean these off when we clean the enclosures as well. We just use the same bleach sanitizing mixture that we used on everything else on these glasses here, and it works really well to keep the glass clean and to keep the surface sanitized. When you're keeping any venomous snake, you should always have a lock, a label to tell you that the animal is venomous, and also something on there that says what animal is kept inside the enclosure. Not required here in the state of Michigan, but highly recommended. Piece of bark stuff. Cracked it. Now our forest cobra is ready to be reintroduced back to the enclosure. Actually, I'm going to water this down a little bit first. So for this, I just use the mist setting. Just get everything wet in there. And again, the hose works really well, but if you don't have a hose, those spray bottles over there, you can get them for $20 to $30 at the local Home Depot or Lowe's, and they'll take real good care of you. We've had those for years before we got our nice hose system here. This helps a lot. Not only do you have to budget your money when you're keeping this many animals, you also have to budget your time. And this is a big time save. All right. Let's get our male forest cobra back in its enclosure. Look here if you want, just right down here at the bottom. Forest cobras are extremely feisty species. This is what I would call the second most dangerous snake in the world. This one specifically here is kind of tame compared to what most forest cobras are like, but still a forest cobra. Not venomous deadly, but this thing will give you a run for your money. You definitely want to be extremely experienced before working with an animal like this one. It seems satisfied. So as always, let's make sure our enclosure is locked and secure. Let's move on to the next. Next thing we're going to do is change out the water dish for this monocle cobra. This is a really nice monocle cobra here. She's really easy to handle, but we're still going to use all kinds of care and safety because you never know how these animals could be. Just like us, they can wake up and have a good day, or they can wake up and have a bad day. We're going to scoop her out of here with this hook. Put her into a secure place while we clean the enclosure. Definitely going to need a secure place when dealing with these animals. And close this up and change her water out. This water dish here was just changed a couple days ago, but this cobra likes to spend all of its time basking in there. So it goes around in the dirt, comes back in here, and makes a big mess of the water. So sometimes it's hard to keep clean. Ugh. My paper towel. Okay. So as always, we focus on cleaning the inside of the enclosure, or the water dish, and once the water dish is clean, then we'll spray it out with our sanitization spray and make sure that it's completely sanitized before putting it back in and refilling the water. I recommend having some kind of hard floor when you're working with these animals because it makes a mess. It's easy to sweep and clean, but it's not as easy to vacuum and clean your carpet every time you have to clean out your enclosures. I dealt with that for years. Now we're only going to focus on cleaning the inside of this one because this water dish goes underground, so the outside is going to be pretty messy. But the inside will be nice and fresh and clean. Keep the water fresh and safe for our beautiful monsters. Okay. As for most of our enclosures here at Great Lakes Serpentarium, most of them are bioactive. So a big part of keeping the enclosure proper is keeping the ground at the proper moisture level. To do so, you can take one of these. It's a plant moisture detector. You stick it in the soil, and it tells you how moist your soil is. So here for the plants, we stick it in. We're holding about a 2. 2 to 3 is exactly where you want to be. So maybe just a light mist as we're watering, and then we'll be all set. If it was as low as a 1, we would mist it pretty heavy. If it was up like a 4, we wouldn't mist it at all. Part of keeping these sliding glass enclosures is keeping the tracks here clean. If you look, the animal has obstructed the substrate and pushed it right into the track. When these glasses move through here, it can prevent them from opening or closing all the way, which can make a possible escape point for the animal. So you want to make sure that you keep these tracks nice and clean and free of debris. towel here. I might as well clean the glass while I got it out. Now let's introduce our monocle cobra back into her enclosure. Usually you wouldn't open the container with your hands, but since she's so small, I know she's going to be quite a ways away from the lid. Locked and secured, and as always on all of our venomous enclosures we have a label of which animal is in here and a couple caution labels stating which to be careful of the animal, and the thing is locked completely so nobody can get in here without the key that we have. Okay, on to the next one. This one down here is our green mamba. The plant life in here has died recently, but we're still going to make sure that we got a nice clean water dish, and we're going to make sure the soil is nice and moist so the plants will start to come back to life. I think that what happens is the soil just got a little too dry and the plants dried out with that. So for a snake like this, you're going to want to use 2 hooks. Just because it's extremely arboreal, you're going to want to be able to move around and get it where you need to go. Our green mamba here is the 4th most venomous snake in the world, and you're going to want to be extremely careful when working with an animal like this. Now, these aren't as wild as the black mambas, but they can still be a handful to deal with. Now when I open this enclosure, I promise you I'll be opening it with a tool. This here. There's our culprit right there. All this root rot from this old plant is causing all kinds of issues in the soil. So we're going to go ahead and remove this. Take the live piece we have here and get rid of the rest. Wow. Just trying to separate what live roots we have from the rest of these dead roots here. just put this in here. This is snake grass, and this stuff spreads real fast. Spider grass, I'm sorry. We'll plant it in the back here. The soil's definitely really dry. And then we'll plant these. Each little bud that comes off here creates its own new root system, and we'll replant a whole new plant in each section. So I'll just stick these in the ground like so. And when I come through and water everything, I'll make sure and mist it real good this time. I like to get a lot of this dead plant material. This is called detritus. When you have detritus in your enclosures, it's going to raise the nitrogen levels and cause a lot of issues for your live plants. So you want to try to get that dead plant material out as soon as possible. Even pesky leaves like this that are about to die, just go ahead and go through here and remove all of them. Here's some of our cleanup crew here. Look at this little isopod. These are all through the enclosure. And you want to keep it nice and moist to keep these guys safe and happy. Let's see. Oh, we're reading a 3 here in the middle. It's reasonably moist everywhere. Looks like I was wrong about how moist it is. This water just cleaned up. Turn this animal to its enclosure. This thing could be sitting anywhere up in here, so we want to make sure to open it carefully. And there he is. The green mamba. This mamba is actually extremely special. Not only is it Crocodile Kate's mamba, but it's from Dingo Dinkelman's private collection. This thing's come through a long way to be with us here, and we're extremely pleased to have this animal in our collection. Next thing we're going to do here is clean this king cobra enclosure. I got a big, huge water dish in here, and this has to be cleaned weekly. Let's get started. So this enclosure here is rather large. It's 10 foot long by 3 foot wide. And if you look down here, we have this big old water dish here. One thing I like to do is keep this pump in here, keep the water circulating, so we don't have to clean it so often. If you have stagnant water, it needs to be cleaned at least every other day. Should be cleaned daily, but you can get away with every other day. But with this water movement here, it buys you a little bit of extra time, sometimes up to a week. So we're going to take this pump out of here, remove a couple of these hanging plants, and then we'll clean out this enclosure. The first thing you're ever going to want to do before opening an enclosure like this is make sure you know where the animal is. I know that the king cobra is over here in her hide underneath this rock. Might be hard to see on camera here, but she's right in there in that tan rock. Turn off that fan, maybe you can hear me. About half of it out on the floor. Now that the water dish is clean, we'll put it back in and we'll fill it with some nice fresh water. level in here with our moisture detector and see if we need to add some water. It's pretty wet in here, so we're going to leave it alone this time. Now we're going to be adding some water to our Nile monitor enclosure, freshening up our monocle enclosures and giving them some fresh water, and same thing with our king cobra enclosure up here. These two enclosures on the bottom for the monocles we'd like to have upgraded as soon as possible. These are not adequate size for the snakes that we have, and we'd like to keep them in a 4x2x2, just like the other monocle cobras on the other side. That's something that will definitely be done before opening to the public. Along with our non-lockable system here, this is not something that I would consider safe, especially in a home or in a place where people are walking around on a regular basis. Let's get started. Over here is extremely feisty today. We're doing a feeding response. Usually all we do is open this cage and feed this animal. She just got done breeding and we don't want to stress her out. This is our monocle cobra. She's just given us a clutch of babies, and she's extremely beautiful and feisty today. We'll put her in our venom-safe enclosure here, and we'll get our house all freshened up. Nice and secure and labeled properly. Here we'll find some fresh monocle shed. Water. This is not one of our biological enclosures, so once I get all of the poop and the shedding out of here, I like to just rough it up and make it a nice fresh surface and make it look clean and fresh for our animal here. These substrates get changed out about monthly, and we're coming up on that probably the next time we come around here. Oh. Here's our Nile crocodile cinder, extremely food responsive, and this guy is going to get huge. We don't usually like to keep them in fish tanks here, and he's about outgrown this enclosure, and we're actually upgrading. As soon as we finish the floors in here, we're going to be building some new crocodile enclosures for all of the crocodiles. So this guy's going to have a much bigger enclosure. This is one of the fastest growing crocodilians we have. This thing has tripled in size since we got it about 2 years ago. Let's return this female monocle enclosure monocle cobra back to her enclosure, and we will get to our male leucistic monocle cobra. If you look in here, so you can see she is quite feisty today. And this is an elapid. These elapids, they track to movement. So as long as I stay still, I have nothing to worry about. But as you'll see, I'm going to have to move around a little bit in order to get this done. Go next door to our big male. He is beautiful and a real special guy here. This guy just gave us 23 leucistic monocle babies, and boy, he is one of the biggest monocle cobras I've ever seen. Look at this beast. This is our leucistic monocle cobra male, and he is a monster. This guy is absolutely a unit right here. This is what you like to see before going into breeding season. We're going to see if I can't get him in this little bucket here. We might have to go get the bigger one, but he's real good about being handled. Just because he's so big and so competent. You know what, bud? Let's get you a bigger enclosure. We'll get started on freshening up this cage. This here is something you want to look out for when you're dealing with venomous snakes. This is a shed fang. This just was found in the water dish, and if this would have stuck me, I could have gotten venomated. Definitely want to look out for stuff like this, because even when the animal's out of the enclosure, you still got to be on your toes. We'll save this for people to look at when they come by. I'm going to get a glove for this one. let's get this guy back in his enclosure. And last but not least, we're going to work on our king cobra baby here. Now, keeping these biological enclosures may seem cool, but it's actually very difficult. One of the issues we're dealing with here is all the plants inside are dying because we have a pest called mealybugs. I've never heard of such a pest, but I just learned about them the other day. When you get a pest in here, you can't use typical treatments, and you don't want to rip all the plants out of there. So one of the best ways to deal with them is to just blast them off with a hose. But then if you oversaturate the substrate, now you're going to have other issues like rotting roots and other things like that with your plants. And maybe even too much humidity for the animal. But we're going to do what we can. I'm going to pull the baby out of here. You can take a look at them, and I'll get all the dead plant material out of here, brush up the water dish, and then water down the substrate here. Let's get started. This is our baby king. He is pretty, not like the female. He is a little wild. He's going to get real big, you can tell by the way he is, and he will open mouth strike every time. So this guy is not one you want to mess up with. Even though he's small, you can still get the job done. Let's see if I can't turn him around here for you. So these guys are lapids as well, and they track the movement. And this guy, that's why I move my head around, and he starts to hood up for you. Gives you a nice, good threat display. This is one of my favorites here. I've always loved the kings, because he's just beautiful. He won't look at you, he only wants to look at me. You can also tell that he's agitated by the fact that he's not flicking his tongue. It's stuck in or stuck out, and sometimes even stuck partially out. But that's a sheer sign of agitation. This is the last line of defense before he's going to bite you. He'll open his mouth, and then once he opens his mouth, he's going to move right into a bite. Yeah, this is our baby king cobra. He's probably, God, he's got to be almost a yearling by now. And he's growing pretty good. He eats about one baby snake every week. And he's on a steady diet, doesn't seem overweight. If anything, he seems slightly underweight. But we're going to make sure that he is perfectly fine. He's extremely healthy, eats every week. But yeah, let's put him away and let's get his enclosure squared away. Get rid of those mealy bugs. Crocodile Kate's using a hose in the other room, so I'm going to go ahead and use this sprayer here and try to blast these mealy bugs off of this plant. In the wild, pests like this would be kept at bay with daily rains and constant humidity. But here in captivity, it's very hard to get up under the leaves and spray them every time that you want to go in there and clean. Again, we have to try to keep time keep time in check here. You know, if we spend too much time on one enclosure, it could cost us a whole day. Look closely here on the bottom of this water dish, you can see hundreds of little tiny bugs. These are springtails, and also in some areas you'll see isopods. This is our cleanup crew. These are what eat up the dead detritus and the poop and skin that the snake feeds off and turn it into food for the plants to continue to grow. Huh? What do you think? Huh? Okay. King back to his enclosure. Say goodbye. Tell people goodbye now. That's it for these guys. The next thing we're going to be working on today at the Great Lakes Serpentarium is this flooring. We bought a bunch of this vinyl flooring, or what we thought was vinyl, and it ended up being composite material, or laminate. And so now when it gets wet, it becomes a big mess. So we're ripping it all up over here in the whole hallway and in the front room up there, and we're going to put this epoxy floor down. We've already done it in this room as kind of a test run, and I think we like how it looks. So we're going to move these enclosures up here into that room, clean this floor up real good, and put the epoxy down in these areas. So we got to finish ripping up this laminate and move these into the other room, and we can then start laying our epoxy. We'll keep you posted on how we do.